You're
Callum,
going
oh
to
God.
regret not getting rid of
Callum.
that thing when I told you to. Those were the last words my husband said to me before I found him in bed with her. I stood frozen in the doorway of the
No,
penthouse
this can't
suite.
be.
The woman on top
Sarah,
of him was
wait.
screaming his
Don't.
name. My husband's hands were gripping her waist, and I was
Sarah,
5
wait.
months pregnant
Don't.
with his child. Wait, you can feel the tension, can't you? Don't leave the story half finished. Subscribe now to claim your front row seat to the wreckage, and tell me in the comments, where in the world are you witnessing this from? Let's begin, because he's about to lose everything.
Chapter 1: The Ultrasound. 3 hours earlier, I'd been lying on a cold table in a clinic in Boston. The room smelled like antiseptic and latex gloves, the kind of smell that makes you nauseous even when you're not pregnant. But I was pregnant. 5 months. And the father hadn't spoken to me in 6 weeks. The ultrasound technician was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and steady hands. She spread the cold gel across my stomach. I flinched. Not from the temperature, from everything else. "Sorry," she said softly. "I know it's cold." I nodded. Didn't tell her that wasn't why I was shaking. She pressed the wand against my belly. The screen flickered to life, black and white static. Then, movement. A tiny heartbeat. Fast, strong, perfect. "There we go," the technician whispered. I stared at the screen, at the tiny person growing inside me, the person my husband hadn't asked about in months. "Do you want to know the gender?" she asked. I hesitated, because knowing felt permanent, real, and I wasn't sure I was ready for real. But I nodded anyway. She moved the wand slightly, studied the screen, then smiled. "It's a girl," she said. The words hit me like a wave. A girl. I was having a daughter. I should have felt joy. I should have felt excitement. Instead, I felt terror. Because how was I supposed to raise a daughter alone? How was I supposed to teach her about love when mine had crumbled? How was I supposed to tell her about her father when he didn't want her? The ultrasound photo was printed, handed it to me. I stared at the tiny profile, the curve of her nose, the delicate fingers curled near her face. "Congratulations," the technician said warmly. I whispered, "Thank you," but my voice cracked. She gave me a tissue. I hadn't realized I was crying. I left the clinic in a daze, walked to my car, sat in the driver's seat for 20 minutes, just breathing. Then I looked at the ultrasound photo again, and something shifted inside me. I wasn't going to let this fall apart. I wasn't going to let my marriage die without a fight. Callum was in Dubai. He'd been there for 6 weeks on business. At least, that's what he told me. But every time I called, he didn't answer. Every time I texted, he responded with one-word replies. Busy. Later. Can't talk. I told myself he was stressed. I told myself the deal he was working on was important. I told myself he still loved me. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. I pulled out my phone, booked a flight to Dubai, leaving in 4 hours. I didn't tell him I was coming, because I wanted to surprise him. I wanted to see his face when I showed him the ultrasound. I wanted to believe that seeing our daughter would change everything. I was so naive. Chapter 2: The Flight. The flight from Boston to Dubai was 14 hours. 14 hours trapped in a metal tube with my thoughts. 14 hours to spiral. I sat by the window, watched the clouds stretch endlessly below. The ultrasound photo was in my purse. I kept taking it out, looking at it, memorizing every detail. A woman across the aisle noticed. She smiled. "You're first?" she asked. I nodded. "Congratulations," she said. "Being a mother changes everything." I forced a smile. "I hope so." She didn't ask any more questions, just went back to her book. But her words stayed with me. Being a mother changes everything. I wondered if being a father would change Callum, if holding his daughter would soften the coldness that had crept into him over the past year. Because the man I married 2 years ago wasn't cold. He was passionate, driven, intense. He swept me off my feet at a charity gala in Manhattan. I was a graduate student. He was already a billionaire. Everyone told me it wouldn't last, that men like him didn't marry women like me. But he proposed after 6 months, married me 3 months later, and for a while it was perfect. Until it wasn't. The change was gradual. He started working longer hours, traveling more, coming home later. And when he was home, he wasn't really there. He'd sit across from me at dinner and stare at his phone. He'd lie in bed next to me and feel 1,000 miles away. I tried to talk to him, asked him what was wrong, if I'd done something, if we were okay. He always said the same thing. "I'm fine, Sarah, just work stress." But then I got pregnant, and everything got worse. When I told him, he went silent, just stared at me. I thought he was shocked, happy, overwhelmed. But then he said, "Are you sure you want to keep it?" I felt like he'd slapped me. "Of course I'm sure," I whispered. "This is our baby." He looked away. "I need to think." And then he left, booked a flight to Dubai the next day, and I hadn't seen him since. 6 weeks. 6 weeks of unanswered calls. 6 weeks of wondering if he was ever coming back. But I refused to believe he'd just abandon us. So I got on a plane and I flew to him. The flight attendant came by with a meal. I couldn't eat. My stomach was in knots. I kept rehearsing what I'd say. "Callum, I know things have been hard, but we're going to have a daughter. Doesn't that mean something to you? Callum, please, just talk to me. Tell me what's going on. Callum, I love you, and I need you." But somewhere over the Atlantic, my rehearsed words started to feel hollow, because I realized something. I was begging, planning to beg, to plead for scraps of affection from a man who'd stopped seeing me months ago, and that terrified me. But I pushed the thought away, told myself I was overthinking, told myself everything would be fine once I saw him. The plane landed in Dubai at 11 p.m. The city was glowing, towers of glass and steel stretching into the night sky. I grabbed my bag, took a cab straight to his hotel. The Burj Eclipse, 73 floors of luxury, the kind of place where a single night cost more than most people's rent. Callum always stayed in the penthouse. He said it was because he needed space to think. I wondered now if that was a lie, too. The cab dropped me off at the entrance. I walked through the revolving doors, into the lobby. It was all marble and gold, chandeliers hanging from the ceiling like frozen fireworks. I walked past the front desk. The concierge glanced at me but didn't stop me. I looked like I belonged. Expensive coat, designer bag, the uniform of a billionaire's wife. I took the private elevator to the penthouse. The code was our anniversary. He hadn't changed it. Part of me felt relieved. Maybe that meant something. The elevator climbed. My reflection stared back at me. I looked exhausted, pale skin, dark circles under my eyes. My dress was wrinkled from the flight. I touched my stomach, the small bump hidden under my coat. "We're going to fix this," I whispered to her. "I promise." The elevator dinged. Doors slid open. I stepped into the hallway. Silence. Then, a sound. A woman's voice. High, breathless, moaning. My heart stopped. I took a step forward. The sound got louder. No. No, no. My legs felt like lead, but I kept walking, down the hallway, toward the penthouse door. It was cracked open, just slightly. I pushed it, and my entire world shattered. Chapter 3. The Betrayal. She was on top of him, blonde hair cascading down her bare back, her hands braced against his chest, her hips moving, rhythmic, deliberate. She was screaming his name, "Callum! Oh God, Callum!" And he was gripping her waist, eyes closed, mouth open, lost in her. I stood there, frozen. My brain couldn't process it, couldn't make sense of what I was seeing. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. But then she threw her head back, and Callum opened his eyes, and he saw me. For a single, agonizing second, we just stared at each other. His face went white. His hands froze on her hips. The woman noticed, turned around. She was beautiful, young, maybe 25, with perfect skin and perfect lips and perfect everything. She looked at me, confusion flickering across her face. "Callum?" she said. "Who is that?" He didn't answer. He shoved her off. She stumbled, grabbed the sheet to cover herself. Callum stood, naked, desperate. "Seraphina." My name sounded wrong in his mouth, like a curse. I took a step back. My hand instinctively moved to my stomach, protective. He lunged forward. "Sarah, wait!" "Don't," I whispered. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded distant, hollow, like it was coming from someone else's body. The blonde woman was staring at me now, eyes wide, mascara smudged. "Who is she?" she asked, louder this time, more insistent. Callum still didn't look at her. His eyes were locked on me. "Callum!" she shouted. "Who the hell is she?" He finally turned, cold, annoyed. "My wife." The words hung in the air. Her face crumpled. "Your what?" "My wife," he repeated, sharper this time, like it was an inconvenience. She started crying, loud, ugly sobs. "You told me you were single." "I lied." She looked at him like he shot her, then grabbed her clothes from the floor, started pulling them on frantically. "You're disgusting, both of you." Then she stormed past me, shoved me with her shoulder. I barely felt it. The door slammed behind her. And then it was just us. Me, and the man I thought I knew. Callum grabbed a robe from the chair, pulled it on, tied it slowly, methodically. He didn't apologize. He didn't cry. He didn't beg. He just stared at me, coldly, clinically. "What are you doing here?" he asked. I blinked. "What? Am I—" "You were supposed to stay in Boston." My mouth opened. No words came out. "You weren't supposed to see this." He continued, like this was my fault. "How long?" I whispered. He ran his hand through his hair, sighed like I was exhausting him. Does it matter? Yes, I said. It matters. He walked over to the bar, poured himself a drink, took a long sip. Since the day you told me you were pregnant. The room tilted. I grabbed the door frame, felt the wood dig into my palm. What? He turned to face me, glass in hand, expression blank. You think I wanted this, Sarah? A baby? A wife who stopped being interesting the second she got pregnant? Each word was a knife, precise, deliberate, cutting deeper than the last. I told you to handle it. I gave you money. I gave you the name of a clinic. I gave you options. My hands moved to my stomach, instinctive, protective. But you refused, he continued. You decided to keep it, and that was your choice, not mine. Tears blurred my vision. She's your daughter. She's a mistake, he said flatly. The air left my lungs. And so were you. I felt something inside me break, not just crack, break. I don't understand, I whispered. You married me. You said you loved me. He laughed, a short, bitter sound. I said a lot of things. He took another sip of his drink, leaned against the bar. You were convenient, Sarah, sweet, naive, easy to manage. You didn't ask questions. You didn't demand anything. You were perfect. Until you weren't. I was shaking now, full body tremors. So what was the plan? Cheat on me until I figured it out? He shrugged. Something like that. And then? He looked me dead in the eye. Divorce you, quietly, pay you off, move on. I felt bile rise in my throat. You're a monster. No, I'm realistic. You just lived in a fantasy. He set his glass down, walked toward the bedroom. You should go, he said without looking back. I didn't move. Seraphina, leave. His voice was cold, final. I stood there for another moment, staring at the back of the man who destroyed me. Then I turned around and I walked out. But I didn't leave the hotel because something inside me had shifted. The grief was still there, the heartbreak was still there, but underneath it all, rage. Chapter 4. The Plan. I took the elevator down to the lobby. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely press the button. When the doors opened, I walked straight to the hotel bar. My legs felt disconnected from my body, like I was floating, watching myself from somewhere far away. The bartender looked up as I approached. Young, polite. Can I date you something? Water, I said. My voice was hoarse, raw. He slid a glass toward me. I drank it in one gulp. Then I sat there, staring at my reflection in the mirror behind the bar. I looked like a ghost, pale, hollow, broken. But ghosts could haunt. And I was about to make Callum Ashford wish he'd never met me. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my contacts, found the one name I'd been avoiding for months. Dante Moretti, Callum's biggest rival. A man who'd been trying to destroy my husband's empire for years. A man who'd asked me out 3 times before I married Callum. A man I'd said no to because I was in love. I stared at his name. My thumb hovered over the call button. This was insane. This was reckless. This was exactly the kind of thing I'd never do. But the woman I was 6 weeks ago wouldn't have flown across the world to surprise her husband. The woman I was 6 weeks ago still believed in fairy tales. That woman was dead. I hit call. The phone rang once, twice. Then a smooth, deep voice answered. Seraphina Ashford. To what do I owe the pleasure? My breath caught. I need your help. There was a pause. Then a low chuckle. Does Callum know you're calling me? No. Interesting, he said. Where are you? Dubai, the Burj Eclipse. Another pause. Longer this time, more weighted. Stay where you are, he said. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. I set my phone down, ordered another water. The bartender gave me a concerned look. You okay, miss? I laughed. It sounded unhinged, even to my own ears. No, I said, honestly. But I will be. He nodded slowly, didn't push, just left the water and walked away. I appreciated that. I sat there, waiting, thinking, planning. Callum thought I was weak. He thought I'd cry and beg and fall apart. Maybe I would, but not yet. Not until I made him pay. Chapter 5. Dante. 19 minutes later, Dante Moretti walked into the bar, and every head turned. He was the kind of man who commanded attention without trying. 6'3", tailored navy suit that probably cost more than a car, dark hair, darker eyes, the kind of presence that made the air shift when he entered a room. He saw me immediately, crossed the room in 4 strides, sat down beside me without asking. You look like hell, he said. I laughed. It came out broken, jagged. Is that bad? He didn't smile, just studied me, his gaze sharp, assessing, reading me like a book. What did he do? I didn't answer right away, because saying it out loud would make it real, would make it something I couldn't take back. But Dante waited, patient, steady. I took a breath. I flew here to surprise him, to tell him we're having a girl. Dante's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. And I found him in bed with someone else. His hand curled into a fist on the bar, the only sign of his anger. Where is he now? Upstairs. Dante stood. Let's go. I grabbed his arm. No, not like that. He looked down at me, dark eyes blazing. Then how? I pulled out my purse, reached inside, found the key card I'd been carrying for 2 years. Callum's office key card, the one he didn't know I still had, the one that gave me access to everything. I set it on the bar. Dante stared at it, then at me. Seraphina Ashford, he said slowly. You're full of surprises. I'm full of rage, I corrected. He smiled, a real smile this time, slow, dangerous, predatory. Good, he said. Rage is useful. He ordered 2 drinks, whiskey, neat, slid one toward me. Tell me what you know. I wrapped my hands around the glass, let the cold seep into my skin. Callum has a deal closing in 3 days. A merger with Solace Industries. If it goes through, he'll double his net worth. He'll be untouchable. Dante's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. And you want me to sabotage it. No, I said. I want us to sabotage it, together. He leaned back, studied me again, like he was seeing me for the first time. Why? Because he was going to divorce me the second that deal closed. He has a plan. Take everything, leave me with nothing, make sure I'm too broken to fight back. Dante's eyes flashed. How do you know? Because I know him. And because I refuse to let him win. Dante picked up the keycard, turned it over in his fingers, considered. This gets us into his office? His office, his files, everything. And you're sure about this? I met his gaze, steady, unwavering. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He held my stare for a long moment, then nodded. All right, let's destroy him.
Chapter 6. The Heist. We waited until 2 a.m. The hotel was silent. Empty corridors. Sleeping guests. Dante and I took the service elevator to the executive floor. He'd changed into all black. I was still wearing the same dress from the ultrasound. We didn't speak. Just moved. Silent. Focused. Callum's office was at the end of the hall, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a fortress of glass and steel. I swiped the keycard. The lock clicked. Green light. We stepped inside. The office was exactly as I remembered. Cold. Impersonal. A desk made of black marble. Leather chairs that cost more than most people's cars. Abstract art on the walls. And a safe hidden behind a painting of a storm. Dante saw it immediately. Subtle. I walked over, pulled the painting aside. The safe had a digital keypad, 6 numbers. Dante looked at me. Do you know the code? I hesitated, stared at the keypad. My first instinct was to type our wedding date, but I stopped. Because Callum wasn't sentimental. Not about me, not about us. He was sentimental about one thing only: money. I thought back to the stories he used to tell about his first big win, the deal that made him a millionaire. May 12th, 2018. I typed 051218. The safe beeped, clicked, opened. Dante let out a low whistle. Predictable narcissist. I reached inside. There were 3 things: a stack of contracts, a USB drive, and a handwritten note. I grabbed the note first. My hands were shaking. I read it, and my blood went cold. What does it say? Dante asked. I couldn't speak, just handed it to him. He read it. His face darkened. The note was from Callum to his lawyer, dated 2 weeks ago. Initiate divorce proceedings the moment the Solace deal closes. Ensure she gets nothing. Cite abandonment, emotional instability, whatever works. She'll be too broken to fight. Make it fast, make it clean. I felt my knees buckle. Dante caught me. He was planning this, I whispered. For weeks. He's been planning it longer than that, Dante said grimly. He grabbed the USB drive, held it up. This is what we need. Chapter 7. The Evidence. We took the USB back to Dante's suite. 2 floors down, just as luxurious as Callum's, but warmer somehow, less sterile. Dante plugged the drive into his laptop. Files started loading, slowly at first, then faster. Hundreds of them. Contracts, emails, financial records, bank statements, wire transfers. Dante clicked through them rapidly, his expression growing darker with each file. Then he stopped, went still. "Sarah, look at this." I leaned over his shoulder. On the screen was an email thread between Callum and a man named Viktor Kuznetsov. I recognized the name. Russian oligarch, arms dealer, sanctions violator. The subject line, Solace Acquisition, Offshore Accounts. I started reading, and my stomach turned. Callum wasn't just merging with Solace, he was using them as a front to launder money, millions of dollars from illegal arms sales, weapons deals with sanctioned countries, Iran, North Korea, Syria. Oh my God, I breathed. Dante kept scrolling. More emails, more transactions, more proof. Detailed records of shipments, payment schedules, shell companies. This is, I trailed off, enough to put him in prison for the rest of his life, Dante finished. He leaned back, ran a hand through his hair. Your husband isn't just a cheater, Seraphina. He's a criminal, a real one. I stared at the screen, at the evidence of everything Callum had hidden. All the late nights, all the business trips, all the secrets, all the lies. This was what he'd been doing. "What do we do?" I asked quietly. Dante looked at me, his eyes intense, focused. "We give him a choice." Chapter 8. The Ultimatum. The next morning, I went back to the penthouse, alone. Callum was sitting at the dining table, coffee in hand, reading the Financial Times, like nothing had happened, like he hadn't destroyed me 12 hours ago. He looked up when I walked in. Surprise flickered across his face, then annoyance. "I thought you left." "I did, and then I came back." He set his coffee down, folded the newspaper precisely, methodically. "What do you want, Seraphina?" I walked over to the table, pulled out a chair, and sat down across from him, slowly, deliberately. "I want to make a deal." He laughed, sharp, condescending. "A deal? You have nothing." I reached into my purse, pulled out a flash drive, and set it on the table between us. "Actually," I said calmly, "I have everything." His smile faded. "What is that?" "Your entire operation with Viktor Kuznetsov. Every transaction, every email, every offshore account, every illegal weapons deal, every shell company, every single crime you've committed." The color drained from his face. "How did you?" "It doesn't matter how. What matters is what I do with it." He stared at the flash drive, then at me. His hands were clenched on the table, knuckles white. "You wouldn't." I leaned forward. "Try me." Silence. The kind of silence that feels like pressure, building, suffocating, crushing. Then Callum stood, slowly, towering over me, trying to intimidate, using his height, his presence. "What do you want?" I stayed seated, calm, in control. "A divorce, full custody of our daughter, 50% of your legitimate assets, and a legally binding agreement that you never contact me or her again, ever." He barked out a laugh. "You're insane." "I'm pregnant, and you're a criminal. Choose wisely." His jaw clenched, a muscle twitching.
If you expose me, I'll drag you down with me. I'll tell everyone you knew, that you helped, that you were complicit. No, you won't, because I have proof that I had no knowledge of your crimes. Emails where you deliberately kept me in the dark, financial records I was never given access to, a paper trail that shows I was completely uninvolved. I pulled out my phone, showed him the screen. An email from him to his accountant, dated 8 months ago. Keep all Kuznetsov transactions off the joint accounts. Seraphina doesn't need to know. In fact, make sure she never sees anything related to overseas operations. His face went white, then red. Dante Moretti helped you. Dante Moretti gave me the tools I needed, but the choice to use them, that was all me. Callum slammed his hand on the table. The sound echoed through the penthouse. Coffee spilled. You won't get away with this. I stood, picked up the flash drive, held his gaze. I already have. I walked toward the door. Sign the divorce papers, I said without looking back. Or I go to the FBI. You have 48 hours. Callum. I stopped, hand on the doorknob. And Callum? I finally looked at him, at the man who'd tried to break me, who thought I was too weak to fight back. Next time you tell a woman to get rid of your baby, make sure she's not smart enough to destroy you. Then I walked out, and I never looked back.
Chapter 9. The Divorce. 5 months later. I was standing in a courthouse in New York, wearing a black dress, holding my 1-month-old daughter. Her name was Alara. She had my eyes, dark hair, tiny fingers that gripped mine with surprising strength. Callum had signed the divorce papers 47 hours after I gave him the ultimatum, 1 hour before the deadline. He'd given me everything I asked for: 50% of his legitimate assets, full custody, a legally binding agreement never to contact us, never to see his daughter, never to acknowledge her existence. In exchange, I kept the USB drive to myself, didn't go to the FBI, didn't expose him, didn't destroy him completely. Not out of mercy, but because I wanted him to live with the fear, to wake up every day wondering if today was the day I'd change my mind, to know that I held his entire life in my hands. That was a worse punishment than prison. My lawyer shook my hand, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and sharp eyes. Congratulations, Mrs. Ashford, or should I say Ms. Hale? I'd taken back my maiden name, erased Ashford from my identity, wiped it clean. Ms. Hale, I said. It felt like freedom. I walked out of the courthouse, into the sunlight. Dante was waiting on the steps, leaning against a black car, arms crossed. He smiled when he saw me, genuine, warm. "How does it feel?" he asked. I looked down at Alara, at her tiny face, peaceful, perfect, innocent. "Like I can finally breathe," I said. Dante pushed off the car, walked over. He looked at Alara, his expression softened in a way I'd never seen before. "She's beautiful," he murmured. "She is," I agreed. "Can I?" he asked. I hesitated, then nodded. He took her carefully, cradled her against his chest, like she was made of glass.
She didn't cry, just looked up at him with wide, curious eyes. "Hello, little one," he murmured. And something in my chest cracked open. Because this moment, this was what love was supposed to look like. Chapter 10. 6 months later. Alara laughed as Dante lifted her into the air, a pure, joyful sound that filled the entire room. She was 6 months old now, chubby cheeks, bright eyes, the happiest baby I'd ever seen. We were in Tuscany, Dante's villa, all stone and sunlight and olive trees, rolling hills that stretched forever. I'd moved here 2 months ago, left New York behind, left the memories, left the pain, started over. Dante had been there through everything, the pregnancy, the birth, the sleepless nights, the midnight feedings, the moments when I thought I'd break. He never asked for anything, never pushed, never demanded, just stayed. And somewhere along the way, I'd fallen in love with him. Not the desperate, all-consuming love I'd felt for Callum, not the kind that burned hot and fast and left you in ashes, but something steadier, deeper, real, the kind of love that felt like coming home. Dante set Alara in her playpen. She immediately grabbed a stuffed rabbit, started chewing on its ear. He walked over to me, pulled me close. "You're thinking about him," he said softly. I hesitated, then nodded. I was just thinking about how different my life could have been. "Regrets?" he asked. I looked up at him, at this man who'd saved me, who'd seen me at my absolute worst and stayed anyway, who held me while I cried, who celebrated with me when I won. "No," I said honestly. "Relief." He smiled, then kissed me. Slow, gentle, full of promise. And for the first time in a year, I felt whole. Alara squealed from her playpen. We broke apart, laughing. "She's jealous," Dante said. "She's spoiled," I corrected. He picked her up again, spun her around. She shrieked with delight, pure happiness. And I watched them, this makeshift family I'd built from the ashes, this life I'd fought for, this future I'd claimed. Callum had tried to destroy me, but instead, he'd set me free. And I had never been happier. The end. If this story wrecked you, if you felt every single moment, then this channel is for you. Subscribe now, because we're not done breaking hearts yet. And in the comments, would you have taken the flash drive or walked away empty-handed? Tell me. I'll be reading every single one.